Blood Money, episode 65 with Reinette Senum. The first woman to cross Alaska alone brings bravery back to journalism. I found out about your work because of the amazing reporting you were doing about Simone Gold, I think at the same time where we were finding out about that whole story. And, just a quick intro for the viewer of, why I thought Reinette would be an awesome guest is because when all this stuff was going down, I had privileged information, I would say, and there wasn't many people that were really covering and attacking the story like we should be, simply due to political reasons, right? Because people on the right, frankly, we're doing the same thing that the people on the left were doing, right? When that whole BLM thing went down and that, woman was buying a whole bunch of houses and spending all this like nonprofit money, the right was like, oh my God, she's such a criminal, blah, 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 right? But then when something similar happens on our side and people are like, oh, we can't, out her, we can't talk about it. It just, that was really a bummer because I think we got to keep our side clean. And, when I saw that you were doing that work and doing it in such a fantastic fashion, kudos to you, much respect to you. So tell me, how do you, what makes you, the outlier in this crazy world of journalism where nobody seems to have much, or very few people seem to have courage,
Yeah, I actually agree with you. It's been very disappointing. I've always been even as a young person, a child, a person of inquiry and research and always searching for answers since I was a child. So it's been my whole life. And I've also been on the city council twice and mayor twice of a small town in Northern California called Nevada City, California. And I was doing the same thing there. And I've always never been very attracted to bullies. I don't like bullies. And sometimes as a school kid, it was in the form of a teacher. And today, sometimes it's in the form of, it could be a city council, legal counsel, or it could be a city council, member sitting next to me, or Pacific Gas and Electric, or whatever, right? So I'm not against any particular anything. I'm not right. I'm not left. I'm like, what I've always been against are bullies and corruption. And when I see corruption, I don't care whether you might be my best friend or my inner circle. If you don't right the boat, I'm going to call it out. Yeah. And that's what I do. And most people aren't comfortable with that. They don't like making enemies, because I've made a very impressive list of enemies. Actually, I think anybody. But I'm just being true to my heart.
I mean, it's amazing. It's like I look at your work and I'm just blown away because this is what journalism is supposed to be, right? It's like, I remember, I don't know, maybe it was like back in the day, it's like journalists, we're like sharks. Like they wanted to have, blood on their teeth in terms of corruption. And now it just seems like, it's politics. The whole thing's literally turned into a political situation, more or less.
Yeah. We know that. We know for over the decades, ever since JFK's assassination, basically it was a coup. America's never been the same. We've had several different versions of that, 1913, right, with the Federal Reserve and so on. But we just keep going deeper down this rabbit hole. So we know that the CIA has infiltrated every single level of the media. We also know the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, has infiltrated every aspect of America. We also know that our military, we have the DOD, who has, blood on its hands around the coronavirus, right? Creating that. We also have, we're facing here in California and around the United States, we have our own military, we know, who's also been spraying us, geoengineering us for decades. So there's a lot against us, but the numbers are still on our side. And so the truth of the matter is that journalism has been dead for a very long time. And the beautiful thing we have going today are people such as myself and you who are going out there. We're not making a killing. We're just trying to continue to throw out the truth for people to see and hear and to, become aware of. And that's all we can do. And our numbers are rising. Are rising.
Yeah. It's the things that you pointed out. Essentially, we, like people like you and I, are very well aware that, with everything you're saying, they're trying to kill us. They're trying to kill us, and they're trying to kill us. Like, that's their thing. And onto the road of killing us, they need to extract as much money from us as possible through all these corrupt systems. And, we did an episode with Dr. Peter McCullough, and he had this, great quote that everything is corrupt, everything's broken, because he thought that when they started bullying him because he didn't go along with the COVID narrative, that the courts were going to come to his rescue. And he saw how just everything is messed up. And you and I understand this. Why don't people understand this? Why are people still blind to this? Why are they still listening to after they've been let down on so many occasions, why are they still trusting Fox? Why are they still trusting the MSM?
Right. I've had similar conversations, and we talk about the cult of personality. I think we're dealing with that with a lot of different people, whether they're good people or bad people. It could be Peter McCullough, or it might be a Simone Gold. It could be Trump, right? There's a cult of personality. And I think what happens is that rather than having your intimate circle of friends that you know really well, it could be like 120, 200 people, maybe up to 300 that you really, really, really trust. We have been trained and indoctrinated to listen to some other source outside of ourselves and our immediate circle. And so we're always looking for somebody else to be the answer, and or to be part of a movement, rather than just really trusting yourself and your people who have a vested interest in you, right? These are your people. Yeah. And I saw that happen firsthand. I was raised in this area, Nevada County, Nevada City, California. I'm from here. I would have died for this community. I would have. And what happened was that I saw very quickly when COVID hit, for instance, people went into fear, and they all turned to, Fauci, he's our savior. And they're like, oh, screw you, Reinette, let's throw you under the bus. I'm like, wait, but I've known you for 30 years, 40, 20. Fauci doesn't even know your name. So why are you listening to this person? And I think we've been trained to not ask questions, to be told what to do, to not critically think, to not trust our instincts. And we're easily duped over and over and over again. And then once you get into a movement like the medical freedom movement, I got into that in 2014, not over COVID, but over an alternative doctor being prosecuted by the state of California. And that was the first time I ever heard of medical choice, medical freedom, right? Freedom of choice. Never heard of that. And what happens, we get into this movement. And as you can imagine, as the movement really starts to gain momentum, you're going to attract sharks. You're going to attract psychopaths. You're going to attract sociopaths, narcissists, and they're going to make the lead. And some people are going to be placed in the front. And there's a bit of that too. And that's where discernment and having your own, good intuition really comes in. And so once you're in this movement, people don't want to believe that people within the movement, people they've been looking up to, could possibly steer them wrong. And it happens all the time. And many times, not always, it's not organic, it's not natural, it's by design.
So with Simone Gold, when we're talking about what you're just saying in terms of by design, I know there's accusations of Simone Gold being by design. What's your general feeling? I've read your pieces, but for our Blood Money audience, what's your general feeling about, what's going on there?
Well, it's hard to kind of tell from here, but what I can tell is that she's had a really long, interesting history with the real extreme right. And so what happened was when Trump was in office, COVID was coming out. It was around the time they're talking about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and so on. At that point in time, there was an undercover audio that came out that was in my Substack, where we had Save Our Country, we had the Tea Party Patriots. And by the way, ironically, in this little liberal town of Nevada City, the Tea Party Patriots started, ironically. And there were ones, this undercover audio came out where they're like, look, we got to do this to protect Trump and his stance and blah, blah, blah. We need doctors to be on the front lines, to be the face, to kind of help steer the public and stir them. And so that came about, and then they're like, okay, who's the person going to be? Who is the face going to be? And they're like, Simone Gold, you're perfect. You're a doctor and you're an attorney. And she already had some very interesting, deep ties to the real neo-right. So there was that. So ultimately, and this is the thing is that many people who are put into these positions, they have certain weaknesses. It could be addictions, sex addiction, drug addiction, pornography. You might be a pedophile. I mean, you might have been on the Lolita Express. You
Yeah.
might be a narcissist. You might be a
Like,
sociopath.
are you suggesting? I know the answer is already yes, but I have to ask. You're suggesting that they're purposefully chosen due to their weakness because there is a file that, should they now get off the tracks, that file is hence released.
100%. And it's it's like a bait to them too. It's like a carrot.
Yeah.
They'll just go after it. If their ego is being, appeased, right?
Yeah.
If their appetite is being appeased, if their
Mhm.
bank account is being appeased, then what's in the way? And so now, to what extent, where did this happen with Simone Gold? If it has, was it from the get-go? Was she set up? I mean, I've had people who are working with her right now, watching, observing her, saying, "I think she's MK Ultra." That's not my observation, but I wouldn't be surprised by anything anymore. I wouldn't be surprised by anything anymore. So these are people who are really close or just observing her, saying the only thing that explains it is this. I'm like, okay, duly noted. I haven't found the roads to that, but if I do, I'll let you know. So, or did she just get swept away? And, because now she's telling people a couple different things. One is that she is the founder and started AFLDS. No, you didn't. The Tea Parties did, right? Save our coalition. Save Our Country, coalition. They're the ones who started this. And when you look at their deep money ties, they're very, very deep. And so did it start there, or did she get, taken away by it all, carried away by all of it? Because now when she went to court in Arizona, was testifying, she was basically saying, my money, FLDS is mine. Well, first of all, it's not your money. It's the organization's money. And you did not you were not the founder of this. You're saying that, you're claiming that, but you're not. You were put into this position. So she has this entitlement and ownership that's just, it's not backed up by evidence.
I mean, in a nonprofit environment, that just makes a little sense. Let's say if you're a nonprofit, it's not your money. I mean,
no, I mean, it just kind of tells you the disconnect from reality. And so there's that. Then with this Arizona decision, basically, it was based upon facts. It was based upon documents and evidence. And that was that, yes, she did resign in February 2022. It was by Zoom. It was in the minutes. There were witnesses. The Arizona judge clearly said, you're not the chair any longer. You're not the president any longer, or the CEO. And yet she continues to go out there and promote herself as the president and the chair of AFLDS and raise money based upon that.
Yeah.
That's fraud. I mean, that's the kind of fraud where you'll end up in federal prison for many years. It's
crazy though, but like the legal system, I see so many flaws because this is happening before our eyes. And yes, the judge, did definitely side with the current board, and that was nice. But that was also, in my opinion, a really flimsy decision. And I see courts doing this kind of stuff. I mean, I hate to say the word cowardice, but you got to go with something, and you got to go with, sometimes you got to go with the Constitution. So sometimes you got to go with the facts in front of you. I mean, you got to always go with the facts in front of you. Those two things are just kind of not happening. It's like, a half-assed decision like this, he should have been like,
right. Well,
here's the kid,
why is she not at this point in time? Why is she not being prosecuted? Why hasn't the Attorney General not gone after her? Why hasn't even the current FLDS board? I mean, I've been asking them, saying, look, are you going to do this? Like, well, I'm like, look if I went out as Reinette Senum and I started to claim to be the president and the chair of AFLDS and started collecting money, basically, saying that I represent AFLDS, the current AFLDS board would be like, what the hell are you doing? Knock it off. Or we're going to do a cease and desist. We're going to do a restraining order. We're going to, freeze your funds. We're going to take you to court. But for some reason with Simone Gold, they're allowing it to happen. And I have to say, at what point do you say enough? Because you are allowing somebody to fraudulently misrepresent and raise money, illegal, claiming and declaring that they are the president and the chair of AFLDS, and we know for a fact they are not.
That's so crazy. That's like the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And you're right. There's a lot of things that kind of don't make sense. It doesn't make sense that like CNN hasn't done the hugest expose on this because it's so salacious, right? I mean, this should be the dream story of CNN. And I just wonder, like, why hasn't that happened? And that to be honest with you, thinking that gives me answers I don't like. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. As you were saying that, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I mean, when you look at it, generally these stories, they come full circle. And when they're like, well, you're here CNN and you're here Simone Gold and you're doing this, and CNN should be all over it. But when you really look who's behind financially, so on behind both, you kind of come to the same people. So I mean, I think this is the thing is that I think we need to just start questioning our reality and questioning every leadership decision made, questioning the juries, questioning the judge, the court decisions, questioning our elected officials, the media. I mean, everything, our history, our religion, our geography, how we got here, the assumptions we made. Mem, I think the best thing we can do is not assume anything that we have assumed to be true is actually true. I mean, that's where that's where
we work with Mindy Robinson as part of our network. She does 2 shows with us, and we've been doing a lot of digging. I mean, just about, our assumptions, our history and all that. Have you heard this thing? And I know this is coming from like total like left field and stuff, but have you heard this thing about like our American history? Actually, a lot of the buildings in Washington are a lot older. They've lied to us. And
you're talking about the mud floods in Tartaria, all that. Yeah. And, I mean, it does sound outrageous, but this is the thing is when I was a young girl, 19, 20, 21 years old, I was traveling around the world and I started to see artifacts and historic art and things that did not fit within the official narrative I had come to believe. And that was not a conspiracy theory. That was not coming from some, pseudo person out here on the field. This is me traveling on my own back in the 80s and 90s going, wait a second, where does that fit in? So all I can say is I know from my own experience predating the internet and conspiracy theories that no, there's a lot of stuff that's been kept out. And we do know, and I've seen it as an elected officials, if you don't have information, if you don't have the real story, right, if you've not been informed, you do not stand in a place of power. And there's no doubt that those in control are trying to misguide us and misdirect us and give us false narratives so that we're never strong and standing strong, spoonerism, standing strong. And that's where we are. So yeah, I question everything. And when I do look at the fact that, like, for instance, electroculture is coming in. Electroculture has always been this kind of underground theory about taking copper wire, putting it on, a stick wood, and then putting in your gardens, and helps grow things and plants and trees and gardens and so on and blah, blah, blah. It's the same theory and premise behind the cathedrals, right? They were really power stations originally. They weren't for religion. They were for collecting power and energy from the ethers. Sounds crazy, but when you concoct something that looks like the top of the cathedrals, like energy. So question everything. Just question
everything. Exactly. Yeah. I wish people had this general mindset, which I think, we did at one point, but now it's just another brick in the wall. I mean, seriously, it just feels like that Pink Floyd album has come true and people are comfortable with it. I don't know. I don't get it. I thought the whole spirit of the country was different. I mean, I know there's a lot of us, but sometimes I feel like not enough,
Well, our numbers are growing. Their numbers aren't growing. Their numbers on the other side is shrinking. Our numbers are growing. And I have to say that the natural curiosity that we're born with has been educated and indoctrinated and just generation by generation removed. And so that's why we're facing what we're facing the last 3 years of saying, we should be questioning the science. We should be questioning Fauci. We should be questioning everybody, including me. Go ahead, question. And that kind of intrigue and interest and curious mind has been systematically removed over generations.
Yeah. So, Reinette, what are you right now? What are you working on? Is there any stories you're excited about, or is there anything you've been doing recently that I know we spent a lot of time talking about Simone just because we both worked on that whole situation, but
just working right now, just simply working on, here in California, we had some terrible snowstorms, just crippling snowstorms. We're not completely out of them yet. And looking at really geoengineering. I've been calling out geoengineering for many, many, many years. And there's a lot of people starting to catch on because they realize something's amiss. And while we're being told that it is a man-made climate change, and let me tell you, 15 years ago, I was starting nonprofits around climate change. I've done a complete 180 on that. Yeah, that's man-made, but it's not climate change. It's man-made weather manipulation, man-made geoengineering. We've been doing it for decades. So I'm fighting against that. Still looking at the Simone Gold stuff, have more stuff to uncover. And then also I'm here writing a book. I've got my own Substack. So I put out kind of, like what you're doing, interviews, and then I'll write other pieces to kind of like just help people kind of understand what's going on out there that may not be readily available. trying to help people connect the proverbial dots is really what I'm trying to do. And yeah, and then we'll see. It's I've got some writing, a lot of writing this year I'm doing on other fronts too. But I think we're really at a tipping point, and all I'm trying to do is just kind of, keep my finger on the scales as well and tip that scale.
Wow. And this is all, I mean, you're doing a lot of these projects on your own, pretty much like independently.
Yeah. I mean, I have dear friends. I call them, probably most of them are mama warriors, who I communicate with regularly, and they'll do a deep dive, or they'll send me something, or I'll get stuff in my comments in my Substack, but I'm not associated with anybody officially beyond my own Substack. And I think that's the power, right, in our type of journalism, is that there's no big, puppet strings behind us, or big money or anything, or any connections. It's just, I'm out here doing my thing, and I've got some dear friends who sometimes will say, hey, check this out, or read this, or what I call super sleuths. They're people like me who will do a deep dive in a particular issue, and then I'll try to just give them a platform so they can be heard.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Reinette, is there anything we didn't touch upon that you want to chat about?
Well, I would like to touch upon something, and this is actually Simone Gold related. And I want to talk about how, we really have to understand that many times, as I was saying before, like with AFLDS and Simone Gold, there's a lot of people behind certain movements, and people get caught up in that. As I was saying, it's the idolry, right? They're sitting there, and it's like the cult of personality. And I did see that actually transpire with the Values Advocacy Council. I was actually leaving for New York a few weeks ago, and a day before I was leaving, or even not even 24 hours, I was told by the Values Advocacy Council that there was in the Bay Area, actually down by San Jose, that they were having Simone Gold come on the stage, and she was going to be giving a presentation. It was promoted. And I was asked just about 1 to 2 days before that if I wanted to go on the stage with her and have a debate. And I'm like, I'd love to, but I'm going to be in New York City. I'm so sorry. Long story short, I started seeing interesting little things coming out about that. And I just want to call this out because the Values Advocacy Council, they were really kind of stirring it up, and I'm challenging Simone Gold to bring me back on the stage. Let's have a debate, because I do have, interestingly enough, I have here from the Values Advocacy Council something that came out basically saying, hey, Gold asks us to invite Reinette Senum on stage to join us for the question and answer. As I said, I only got that message right before I was leaving town. And I said I was willing to Zoom in. They didn't let me Zoom in. I did call in 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I did call in at 11 and asked 3 questions from the phone on stage. And I was a bit horrified by what I could hear over the phone, and I've now seen the video response from the crowd, because there's absolutely, as you're saying, there was no inquiry. There was no questioning. There was this idolatry going on, and I want to call that out and say we've got to stop doing that. That we've got to start.
So the crowd booed, or what was their reaction?
Oh yeah, turn off the phone, get away from the mic, boo, and then
how big was the crowd, by the way?
Hundreds of people, hundreds.
Hundreds.
And then
hundreds of people are still following her after.
Oh yeah, no, this was like her. I was willing still to call in at 11 o'clock. I was actually in my pajamas, and have Alex Myers from CHD, Children's Health Defense, hold up the phone to the mic. It was being blasted into hundreds of people in the church. And again, I was just going to bed. Alex called me and said, hey, Reinette, you want to ask a few questions? I'll hold the phone up to the mic. I was like, I'm going to sleep, but okay. And I did. And I was happy to Zoom in earlier, but I never got a response from the VAC. But what was really interesting is when they were asking me, they said that we asked Simone, this is the VAC saying, we asked Simone if we could invite you on stage to ask her some of the questions directly for about 15 minutes of the evening before moving on to the general public questions. Simone loved the idea. Since it won't work this time, perhaps we can go coordinate for a future visit when Dr. Gold is back speaking to us. Well, interestingly enough, when I asked those questions, finally, Alex Meyer was saying, hey, do you mind if we have actual debate, you and Reinette? It could be video. We could host it, have a moderator. And Simone Gold lost it. She's like, I'm not going to waste my time. She's a liar. And I'm like, wait a second. You just said less than 48 hours ago that you're willing to debate me on stage and have a Q&A. And I'm actually really willing to do it. So I'm going to challenge Simone Gold to this and say, let's do it. Because 24 hours before you walked on that stage, you're willing to have me stand next to you and do Q&A. So I would like to challenge her, because right now I see her getting a lot of press. Leading a lot of people.
She's what?
misleading a lot of people.
Big time. And you know what? Let's double up here. All right. Let's go for double. I'm willing to debate Simone Gold. I'm willing to debate because you and I both, I mean, you have a lot more knowledge, frankly, but I know we've dissected the situation probably more than 99.999% of people that even know about this. And I mean, I don't know. I just feel like personally, like it would be either you or myself, it would just be a massacre in terms of a debate because there's just no way to like. The thing that's really disgusting to me is she started raising this money as America's frontline doctors, right? What I guarantee you, because I've done TV show budgets, I've worked as a producer, executive producer for many TV shows and productions, there is going to be a link between her basically using that money to build her celebrity, right?
Right.
There is going to be that link because she's going to these events. There's, so that whole thing is just really disgusting to me that like money was like for people dying in hospitals because of remdesivir and people are desperate. And that money, even if a penny of it was used to make Simone Gold a celebrity, it's false advertising. It's like, but when Google says we're not evil, don't be evil. And then that slogan disappears and suddenly they're evil.
Well, and it's beyond just like building up her, her team and her supporters, but then she has here Frontline Flash. Frontline Flash put out something with showing the values advocacy group and promoting the whole entire event. And Frontline Flash is actually John Strand. John Strand is her underwear Playboy gay model boyfriend, who's been doing the whole January 6th thing. But what's interesting is that he's saying here, and so he promotes this. And what people don't realize is Frontline Flash is John Strand. They don't know that. So their donors are putting money into Frontline Flash. And this is what he promotes. Ready? Right here, with this right here. This is how he promotes it. Wow. Anti-Semitic activist Reinette Senum has repeatedly attacked American Frontline Doctors founder, Dr. Simone Gold. Senum has promulgated false accusations and slurs harming Dr. Gold and the work of AFLDS. So VAC invited Senum to confront her in person. Well, I mean, when that happened, it was like less than 2 days before, and I'm on the way to a plane. But my point is this. Simone Gold will not allow, and she's paying people to go out there and try to destroy their reputation and their character, right? By saying she's anti-Semitic. Now, my dad, who is Jewish, is going to be really, really surprised to find out that I'm anti-Semitic. My girlfriend, Susan, of 15 years, who's also gay, or not gay and Jewish, is going to find this amusing that I'm anti-Semitic. But this is the kind of stuff that Simone Gold is promoting.
Yeah.
And what
garbage
is promoting, putting donors' money, hard-earned dollars, trying to shut up and do character assassinations of those who have the right to ask questions.
Yeah.
When you are a 501.
I mean, they Antifa'd you. That's what's crazy. Sorry to interrupt you, but like what's shocking to me about all of this is when you called, they Antifa'd you. That was it. They would shut up, don't say anything, right? And now she's this whole time she's been part of the right. Freedoms, they're stealing our freedoms. Yo, like you're doing the exact same thing as the BLMs and the Antifa. Wait.
Before it was AFLDS, she started what's called right the Freedom of Speech Foundation. She started the Freedom of Speech Foundation, and she has her boyfriend and the donors' money going towards calling somebody out, calling somebody an anti-Semitic activist. News to me. Somebody who's actually expressing the freedom of speech, questioning as they should question, they have the right to question. And this is what they're producing. So, folks, I don't care if you believe me or don't believe me. I'm going to ask you to inquire and to research and come to your own determination. But it's really important that we actually start questioning everybody and their leadership in every group, whether it's medical freedom or animal activism or
and you know what? It doesn't take a lot of investigation. Let me tell you like the really brief synopsis of this, right? AFLDS started off correctly. The minute January 6th happened, 2021, John Strand, between that point and now, AFLDS hasn't done anything close to what their mandate is. They wasted a lot of time on the John Strand case. They wasted a lot of time on the Simone Gold case for January 6th. It went from being a medical freedom company or a nonprofit to becoming the Simone Gold, John Strand, January 6th story. That's what's really been happening. And you don't have to, just because she gets up there and she says things that make you feel nice, it's like, doesn't mean she's doing her job and what she basically advertised she's doing. So,
well, first of all, we know for a fact, and a lot of stories were done on this, and it was done through the lens that I did not agree with, which was that hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin are, basically horse medicines don't work. They're dangerous. And, take your vaccination and shut up. I mean, it was through that lens, right? But what they're doing is they were pointing out clearly, and there's a lot of evidence. And I have talked to many, many, many people who've experienced the same thing, which is they called in to their telehealth, paid their 90 some bucks, paid for medicine, never got the service.
Never got that.
So that was already happening. But what we do know for a fact is that she has taken millions upon millions of dollars. Millions upon millions of dollars are now hidden away from over the last 3 years that she's just using to pay for her lavish lifestyle and to try to shut up and lie. So I'm going to say again, Value Advocacy Council, please, I'm just going to really implore that you actually follow through, invite us back, and then we can actually have something that's really fair and not me calling through an iPhone at 11 o'clock night Eastern Pacific Standard Time, off the cuff. And so I'm willing to stand by my words.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do that and not just do this call people names like an anti-Semitic and go like, see, we showed her. It's like, so this is the game they're playing. And so for somebody who's all about freedom of speech, it's a little shocking. For somebody who's all about helping those in desperate need who loved ones or themselves might be on the deathbed, this is a little shocking. And for somebody who clearly has been defined by an Arizona judge that look you're no longer the chair, you're no longer part of AFLDS to continue to raise money fraudulently is shocking. And I don't have any skin in this game. I'm not here to protect or speak out for Joey Gilbert, who's the sitting president of AFLDS, or even, Kevin Jenkins, a personal friend. These are not. I'm not here to protect anybody. I'm here to call out the corruption. I'm here to ask questions, and I'm doing that with AFLDS. I'm doing that with Simone Gold, and right now I'm even doing that with the VAC. I think they need to follow through on what they promised.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this whole Simone Gold story has been really bizarre. And to be honest with you, just having observed it, I was part of the media team that's worked under both, regimes, I guess you could call it. And I mean, I was actually invited to court and had to make statements in writing. So what I'm about to reveal, normally, I work for every media company out there, and literally every network, probably, including, Fox, CNN, you name it. I've had, working relationships with many of them, and I've always been confidential about stuff. But in this case, they actually called me. I'm talking about Simone Gold actually called me to go to court because they wanted to accuse our company, which actually produces the show, Studio 17, of somehow being a conduit to fraud that Joey Gilbert was doing, all which was complete BS. We had the receipts and everything, right? So I had to make statements. And in that statement, which is, what I'm about to reveal, and I have to kind of preface it that this is a statement that's already in the public right now, is how badly run AFLDS was. And it's one of those situations that if it wasn't for this immense anxiety out there, right? If this was a normal day and people weren't desperate, it wasn't an emergency, people weren't, dying of remdesivir thinking, oh, my loved one, whatever. I mean, a company like AFLDS and a nonprofit like AFLDS being run the way it was under Simone Gold would have failed miserably. That's my point. And what I've seen actually genuinely is that Joey Gilbert has been a much more astute entrepreneur. I mean, he's built multiple businesses throughout his career, and the place is actually much better run with him, in my opinion, and I think we're going to see that. But that's kind of what I've observed, and that's a statement I made to the court when they asked me for my to go in there and testify.
Well, nobody's perfect. And I think that, I think Joey is realizing at this point in time, and at least I'm hoping so, that it was not really being run very well. And there were some cracks and fissures we were seeing before January 6th that people became apparent of afterwards. But by far, when January 6th hit, it was off the rails. And I have talked to other doctors who in the very, very beginning were on those Supreme Court steps with Simone Gold. And we're like, look at, we were in the phone calls with Simone and her staff and blah, blah, and they're doing really great. And they, to this day, they contend, and I believe them, that we were doing really, really well in the beginning. And I'm like, I don't disagree with you. Somewhere, somehow, it went off the rails. Again,
Yep.
was it by design? Was it in the beginning? Was it where just the situation where Simone got taken advantage of? I don't know. But I have to challenge also the current AFLDS board. They have a lot of cleaning up to do. This is a mess. And they have to follow through on what they promise. And so I'm challenging everybody. I'm challenging everybody because
I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised, by the way, because that's another thing. I should reveal this because in journalism, we can't be scummy like, some of the folks out there. I'm also the media director of AFLDS 2.0. I'm actually, because I have a long history in creating shows and that sort of thing, I mean, we're doing a whole revamp, like a 360 thing, and I think it's going to really shock people, and they're really going to see what the capability should have been had this not turned into the Simone Gold Show, had it really stayed America's Frontline Doctors in the plural form, how it should have been. It's just, there's so much potential, and it's sad that we've had to go through this, but this rebirth, I think, is going to be worth it,
Well, and I do hope that, I hope somebody goes after Simone Gold. I don't have time for this. It's not my fight to fight, but somebody needs to go after her, whether it's an attorney general, the court system, the current AFLDS board, because she's actually going out there and fraudulently promoting herself as the head of AFLDS. So, there is a responsibility within the board. Bring an end to that. So I myself, and it's not just me, I have a lot of people calling me, contacting me, texting me, showing me stuff coming from Simone Gold saying, wait, Reinette, you said blah, blah, blah. So why is she continuing this? And I'm like, I know. And it's crazy, but this is why she's probably going to end up behind bars for a lot longer than just, a couple months.
I mean, for me, it's been a really sad journey because I started this like admiring her because I was like a fan of what she was doing. I adored her, and I did like literally 100+ video pieces to help promote when I was so enamored by her. And I mean, it's been the saddest downfall because she's gone from that to like, now I'm starting to think she's like a sociopath and a criminal, because unless like, already that you're not part of the company, you've been fired, you're done. And to go and raise money as if it's still is just unbelievable to me. And it's more unbelievable that people are like, defending her. Like, I mean, that's just.
Well, a lot of people don't know the story. When they do read the story, they're like, wait, what the heck? And this is where I say either she's been put in that position to do exactly what she's doing, or she is a narcissistic sociopath who's just lost her mind or never had it. I don't know. Right. No. Or she is somehow being, coerced or so, I mean, there's like just a few options.
Or
here.
John Strand is an infiltrator of some kind and really got their head, like he manipulate. I mean, I'm just saying. If
I mean, I'm presenting information to people, right? But I'm also presenting a heck of a lot of questions, saying, look, guys, I don't have the answers, but I can give you bits and pieces to make you go, well, what the heck is this? But really, I don't know. And that's what we're going to do more of a deep dive. There's actually much more to this story. Can't get into the details, but you do, again, you see the ties to very deep pockets, political pockets. And that stuff just doesn't spring out of nowhere organically and then go to the level it's gone.
Yeah.
A lot of support and help.
Yep. This is awesome. Much respect to you, Reinette. Like I said, I'm a huge fan, and so great to have you on our show. Did we miss anything or?
No, I think that's it. You allowed me to talk about, just getting on the stage and actually, having a real discussion with.
Yeah.
Well, I'd
love that. I would pay $20 to get into that event. Like, that'd be really fun. And you'd slaughter her. It'd be a massacre.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the time, and good luck with everything else you do and your interviews. Good luck with all of them.
Awesome. We're going to be following you, and we're going to put your Substack link below. Is there any other links that should go down there?
I think Facebook and Instagram, I think, are the big ones.
Okay. Awesome. So good to have you on, Reinette. For the viewer out there, check out americahappens.com on a daily basis, where we put all our new episodes, this episode, Blood Money, and many others coming soon. Thank you very much for joining us, and I'll see you next time on Blood Money.